those underwater listening devices were most likely so that they could hear UFOs moving around.
These cells generate electricity from nothing but pressure. No sunlight, no heat, no chemical fuel. Just the crushing weight of 7 miles of ocean, converted directly into power by organisms that have been doing it for millions of years. Scientists pulled these creatures from 11,034 meters below the Pacific. When they analyzed the samples, they found biological batteries, living fuel cells operating inside individual cells, producing measurable voltage that shouldn't exist according to everything we know about biology. But that discovery was just the beginning. The same organisms don't age. Their DNA repairs itself perfectly. Their proteins survive forces that would destroy any tissue on Earth's surface. And deep in the trench, these creatures build structures. Towers hundreds of meters tall, organized, purposeful, almost intelligent. What scientists found at the bottom of the Mariana Trench didn't just challenge biology, it revealed solutions to problems humanity has been trying to solve for centuries. Let's dive in. The mission. The Mariana Trench plunges 11,034 meters at its deepest point. Pressure exceeds 1,000 atmospheres. No sunlight has reached the bottom for billions of years. Every square inch of surface down there bears 8 tons of crushing force. In March 2024, the Deep Life Consortium sent the submersible Prometheus down to conduct the first complete biological survey of this zone. 30 scientists, 5 countries, 3 years of planning. One goal: document what lives in the deepest place on Earth. Prometheus began its descent and touched sediment at 11,034 meters 7 hours later. The crew expected barren mud. Previous expeditions found almost nothing. A few scattered organisms, nothing remarkable. The scientific consensus held that complex life couldn't thrive under such extreme conditions. They switched on the floodlights. The seafloor was alive. The impossible. Ecosystem. Microbial mats blanketed the sediment in colors that shouldn't exist without sunlight. Deep purples that seemed to glow from within. Vibrant oranges reflecting the artificial light with strange intensity. Electric blues pulsing with internal rhythm that suggested something almost like breathing. Bacterial colonies formed towers and spirals rising from the seafloor. The patterns were too complex, too regular for random growth. Billions of cells working together toward purposes no one had documented. Some structures reached several meters high. Others spread across the sediment in geometric formations. Translucent worms over a meter long moved through this landscape. Their bodies glowed from within. Not bioluminescence from chemical reactions, but light generated inside their cells. Patterns rippled along their length like electrical signals traveling through biological wire. The glow pulsed in sequences that almost resembled code. Crustaceans with shimmering shells harvested. Material from the bacterial mats. Their movements showed coordination. Communication between individuals. Groups worked together, clearing sections of the seafloor in patterns that suggested planning. Dr. Elena Vasquez, lead biologist, had spent 30 years studying deep sea life. Hydrothermal vents, cold seep ecosystems, bathypelagic creatures. She'd seen things that would terrify most people. Nothing prepared her for this. The crew collected samples methodically. Sediment cores extracted with precision instruments, water specimens sealed in sterile containers. Living organisms placed in pressure-resistant chambers designed to keep them alive during the long ascent. Then they noticed tube-like structures protruding from the seafloor 50 meters away. These looked like hydrothermal vent communities, bacteria and tube worms clustered around hot water, seeping from Earth's crust. Standard chemosynthesis. Well-documented biology. The kind of ecosystem scientists expected to find. Except Vasquez checked the thermal sensors 3 times. No heat. The water matched the surrounding ocean temperature, just above freezing. No volcanic activity, no geothermal energy, no chemical gradients that could explain what powered these organisms. Yet, they thrived, growing, reproducing at rates that demanded an energy source. They were generating power from something else entirely. Discovery 1. The pressure engine. The robotic arm extracted a sample from one of the tubes. Under the microscope, Vasquez saw something that broke every rule of biology. The cells contained structures resembling mitochondria, the organelles that produce energy in normal cells. But these were larger, more complex. Internal membranes folded in patterns never documented anywhere in scientific literature. And they glowed. Not chemical bioluminescence, a steady internal light. Active energy production, visible to the naked eye. Vasquez ran spectral analysis. Checked the equipment calibration. Ran the analysis again. The results didn't change. The cells were generating electricity, not metabolic energy stored in ATP like every other life form on Earth. Actual electrical current. Measurable voltage flowing through cellular structures. She detected it with a simple probe pressed against the sample. She contacted the surface. Her voice shook as she described the readings. The response was skepticism. What she reported violated fundamental biology. Cells don't generate electricity. They store chemical energy. That's how life works. But sample after sample confirmed the same thing. These organisms had evolved biological batteries, natural fuel cells producing power through processes no known life form uses. The surface team processed samples around the clock. Sleep became optional. What they discovered rewrote assumptions about energy and life itself. These organisms harvest energy directly from pressure differentials. At 7 miles deep, ocean pressure is immense, over 1,000 atmospheres pressing against everything. These creatures evolve cellular structures that exploit that pressure. They use it to drive molecular processes that generate electrical current. Think of a hydroelectric dam, but microscopic. The pressure gradient across cell membranes powers tiny molecular turbines embedded in their structure. Those turbines generate electrons. Those electrons flow through biological circuits, powering all cellular functions. Pressure-based energy generation. A biological mechanism never observed or theorized until this expedition pulled samples from the seafloor. The implications hit immediately. If organisms can harvest energy from pressure differentials, the same principle scales to human technology. The ocean pressure at depth represents an enormous untapped energy source. Trillions of tons of water pressing down with relentless, constant force that never stops. Engineers began modeling possibilities within days of the announcement. A pressure, differential power plant at ocean depth. No moving parts exposed to corrosive seawater. No fuel requirements. No emissions produced. Pure constant power generated by natural ocean pressure. 1 square kilometer of seafloor at Mariana Trench depth generates more continuous power than a large nuclear plant. Zero radiation, zero waste, zero fuel costs. Renewable energy that lasts as long as the ocean exists. The holy grail of clean energy was hiding 7 miles underwater for millions of years. Waiting. If you're finding this as mind-blowing as we did, hit subscribe, because what they found next makes electricity look like the warm-up act. Discovery 2. The immortality enzyme. Dr. Sarah Chen, molecular biologist, noticed something wrong with her samples. The organisms didn't age. Cells from the deepest specimens showed zero signs of senescence, the gradual deterioration that defines normal aging. Telomeres, the protective caps on chromosomes that shorten with each cell division, weren't shortening in these samples. They were lengthening. These organisms were biologically immortal. Chen ran genetic analysis on every sample she could process. What she found changed everything the team thought they understood about these creatures. The same cellular structures that generate electricity from pressure also produce a unique enzyme. This enzyme repairs DNA damage with perfect accuracy. No errors, no accumulated mutations. Perfect cellular maintenance. Normal cellular repair makes mistakes. Those errors accumulate over time. Mutations build up in the genetic code. Cells begin to malfunction. Tissues deteriorate. Organs fail. This is aging at the molecular level. This is why every living thing on Earth's surface eventually dies. But these organisms evolve flawless repair mechanisms. Every time DNA takes damage, radiation exposure, metabolic byproducts, copying errors during cell division, the enzyme fixes it perfectly. The genetic code stays pristine. Cells function like new regardless of how old they are. they solve mortality. Chen isolated the enzyme and sequenced the responsible genes. First trials used lab mice. Researchers modified cells to express the deep-sea repair enzyme. Results showed immediately. DNA damage dropped to near zero. Aging markers vanished from the cellular profiles. Modified cells functioned like young, healthy tissue, no matter how many times they divided. They showed none of the deterioration that normally accompanies cellular replication. Human applications wait years for regulatory approval, but the potential is undeniable. This mechanism adapted to human cells means near-perfect cancer prevention. Cancer requires accumulated DNA damage to develop and spread. Remove the damage, remove the cancer risk entirely. It means reversal of age-related tissue degeneration. Organs maintain youthful function indefinitely. Hearts don't weaken, kidneys don't fail, brains don't deteriorate. It means extended healthy. Lifespan. Not just living longer, but living without the physical decline that makes old age difficult. Active, healthy years instead of gradual decay. It means healing genetic diseases caused by DNA damage. Conditions currently labeled incurable become correctable at the cellular level. This isn't a fountain of youth from mythology. This is a biological solution to the fundamental problem of aging, evolved over millions of years in Earth's most extreme environment. But the discoveries still weren't finished. Discovery 3. The indestructible cell. These organisms survive crushing pressure through specialized proteins that prevent cellular collapse. Dr. Michael Torres, biomedical engineer, recognized the proteins immediately when analysis results came through. They were unlike anything in surface biology. They maintained cell integrity under forces that would destroy normal tissue instantly. 8 tons per square inch, and these cells hold their shape perfectly. Torres saw the application before anyone else spoke. If these proteins work in human cells, they protect tissue from mechanical damage. Wounds that normally destroy cells become survivable. Trauma that causes permanent damage becomes repairable. The body gains protection it was never designed to have. Early tests confirmed everything. Human cells modified with pressure adaptation. Proteins withstand forces that rupture normal cells completely. They maintain function under stress that kills control cells instantly. The proteins don't just help cells survive damage passively. They actively reinforce cellular structures under extreme conditions. The medical applications cascade from there. Brain injuries, currently devastating and largely untreatable, become survivable. The proteins protect neurons from mechanical trauma that causes permanent cognitive damage. Accident victims who would face lifetime disability walk away intact. Spinal cord injuries become repairable. Protected cells survive, initial. Trauma, giving medical intervention a real chance to restore function. Paralysis stops being permanent. Heart attacks and strokes show dramatically better outcomes. Tissue survives, pressure changes, and oxygen deprivation that would normally kill it within minutes. But Torres found something bigger during extended analysis. These proteins don't just protect cells, they actively stabilize cellular structures even outside the body. That means they preserve organs far longer than current methods allow. Organ transplantation is limited by survival time after removal. A heart lasts 6 hours outside the body, lungs even less. This creates severe constraints on transplant logistics and directly causes the chronic organ shortage that kills thousands every year. With pressure adaptation proteins, organs survive for days, maybe weeks. Transport times stop mattering. Donor-recipient matching becomes dramatically easier. Geographic distance between donor and recipient stops being a death sentence. The global organ shortage that kills thousands annually shrinks significantly overnight. 3 discoveries. 3 revolutionary breakthroughs, all from organisms at the bottom of a trench where nothing was supposed to live. But the second expedition found something that made all of this look small. Discovery. 4. The Builders. 6 months after the initial discovery, the consortium launched a second expedition, larger team, better equipment. One goal, map the full ecosystem before commercial operations began. The organisms weren't confined to the original site. They covered thousands of square kilometers of trench floor, an entire biosphere operating on principles completely different from surface life. A hidden world that had been thriving in darkness for millions of years. Then sonar detected something massive, structures, formations too regular for natural geology, rising from the seafloor in geometric patterns that suggested design, organization, purpose, Prometheus. Approach slowly. The crew watched their instruments in silence. Towers of biological material rose hundreds of meters tall from the seafloor. The same organisms from earlier discoveries, but organized into structures that looked architectural, intentional, built rather than grown. This wasn't random colony growth. Different species integrated into functional units. Specialization appeared throughout the structures, division of labor, collective behavior, suggesting something approaching colony-level intelligence. Some organisms formed the structural supports. Others created the outer surfaces. Still others moved through the towers, performing functions the scientists couldn't identify. The whole system operated like a single massive organism made of millions of smaller ones. These organisms build things. They create structures serving purposes beyond individual survival. They cooperate across species boundaries toward goals that benefit the collective. The implications stagger the mind. If these organisms organize collectively, form complex structures, exhibit behaviors beyond simple biological drives, then life adapts in ways we never imagined possible. Intelligence doesn't require brains. Consciousness doesn't require neurons. Organization, purpose, and complexity emerge from simple rules repeated across vast numbers of cooperating units. This is alien intelligence, not from another planet, from our own world, from depths we barely explored. Humanity almost missed it entirely, because it doesn't look like anything we recognize as intelligent life. The price of discovery. News spread within weeks. Governments and corporations demanded access. Patents flooded filing offices on 3 continents. Everyone wanted ownership of what the deep ocean had created. Energy companies saw a trillion-dollar opportunity in pressure-based power. They pushed for immediate construction of deep-sea facilities. Pharmaceutical corporations called the repair enzyme the most valuable biological discovery in human history. Biotech firms wanted unlimited access to the pressure proteins. Environmental scientists raised the alarm. The Mariana Trench ecosystem is fragile, unique, irreplaceable. Commercial exploitation risks destroying it before anyone maps what exists down there. We found something extraordinary and might destroy it before we understand it. But industry pressure intensified. Patient advocates argued that delays cost human lives. Companies pushed for immediate harvesting. Billions of dollars hung in the balance. The questions multiplied faster than anyone could answer them. Does humanity have the right to harvest these organisms for profit, even if it destroys their habitat? Should discoveries become common heritage or corporate property? What happens if aggressive harvesting disrupts the ecosystem before science understands how it functions? And the most disturbing question, what if introducing these biological mechanisms into surface ecosystems produces consequences no one can predict? The ocean gave humanity an extraordinary gift. Accepting it responsibly requires wisdom we may not possess. Conclusion. Scientists descended to 11,034 meters, expecting darkness and barren mud. They found organisms generating electricity from pure pressure, a potential solution to humanity's energy crisis, hiding in plain sight for millions of years. They found enzymes that repair DNA perfectly, a biological answer to aging itself, evolved in conditions that would kill any surface organism. They found proteins that protect cells from trauma, revolutionary medicine for currently untreatable injuries that could save millions of lives. They found evidence of collective intelligence operating on principles we never imagined existed on our own planet. The organisms living 7 miles beneath the ocean have been solving fundamental problems for millions of years: energy, aging, survival under extreme conditions. Collective, organization without centralized control, problems humanity struggles with daily. Those solutions are within reach now. The question is whether we're wise enough to use them responsibly, whether we can balance the urgent need for these breakthroughs against the fragility of the ecosystem that created them. What do you think? Should we protect the deep ocean as an untouched scientific reserve until we understand these ecosystems? Or should we harvest their secrets as quickly as possible to solve urgent human problems, even if it risks ecosystems we've barely explored? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this video fascinating, hit the thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. We're uploading more incredible stories like this one in the coming weeks. Until then, see you in the next one.